Hi loves, welcome back to Eco Designs to Feed YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys how to make this beautiful off-shoulder puffy short gown. It is very simple. If this is what you're interested in learning, stay tuned until the end of this tutorial. Now here are the measurements I'll be using. I also have on top my table my Ankara prints. So now I'll be folding into two. Okay, so we are going to be cutting out the front part right now, and I'll be folding using the biggest part of my client's measurements. So first of all, I'm going to mark out the starting line, and now from there I'm going to be minusing 5 inches. This is how off I want this off shoulder to look, and from there I'll go down by 10 inches for the bust point, 14 inches for the under bust point, and 17 inches is meant to be the waistline, but I'm using 18 inches because of sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and draw my lines across, and once I'm done with this, the next step I'll be taking is to go up to the starting line. I'll divide the shoulder measurement into two, and I'll be inputting it right there. Our shoulder measurement is 16. I divided by 2 and I have 8 inches. Okay. Now I'll minus that same 5 inches and go down to her armhole divided by 2, which is 9 inches, and I'll connect it to the shoulder. Now on the chest line, I'll divide her bust circumference by 4. I'll mark, and on the under bust, I'll divide her under bust circumference by 4 and mark, and on the waistline I divided her waist circumference by 4 and mark, and then I went ahead to connect the armhole. Now next I'll be going over to the center fold, and I'll divide her nipple to nipple measurement by 2 plus half an inch. So her nipple to nipple measurement is 8 divided by 2. I have 4 plus half an inch. I'm going to go ahead and mark it on the bust point down to the waistline, and I went ahead to connect it with my straight ruler. Now to get our curve for the bustier, I'm going to, on the side front of the waist point, come in by 1.5 inches, and on the center front go in by half an inch. I'll repeat the same thing for the under bust point. Side front is 1.5 inches and center front half an inch. I'll simply go ahead and connect this using my French curve, or you can make use of your free hand into the bust point. Now next thing you're going to do is extend this nipple to nipple measurement to the shoulder line. Okay, and then once you're done extending it, you're going to go ahead and input your across chest. Okay, so for this client, her across chest is 12, so I'm going to go ahead and input 6.5 inches. You know that 12 divided by 2 is 6 plus half an inch for armhole joining allowance. Okay, now once I'm done with that, I'm going to tighten this across chest so that it won't gape. So I'll be making use of 1 inch to do that. So what I did was to remove half an inch from both sides. Can you see? And then once I am done, I'll simply go ahead and connect it into the bust point line. Okay, so you can see me doing that with the curvy part of my French curve. And then once you are done with connecting into the bust point line, the next step you are going to take is go ahead and replace whatever dots that you have taken out from this shoulder line. All right, so I went ahead to place it on the shoulder line and then on the chest line as well, and then this is going to be my new armhole. Now once you are done with that, go ahead and input your sewing allowance, and on the under bust line I went ahead to replace my darts and then input my sewing allowance. The same thing goes to the waist line. I replaced my 2 inches dart plus 2 inches sewing allowance. Now once you are done with all of this, go down by 1 inch for the neck depth towards the center front, and then connect it back to the armhole. Okay, so now you're going to have to extend the dart leg of the center front. Okay, now once you are done extending it, go ahead and connect it back to the neck depth, and then input half an inch for sewing allowance, and then simply go ahead and cut out your front block. Okay, so you can see what I am doing right there. Also, don't forget to notch the under bust points. And you guys, once we are done with all of this, this is our front block. We are done with it. Can you see? So we are going to go over to the back block. Now for the back block, you're going to first of all mark out 2 inches for the zipper allowance. Now these 2 inches, I'm going to still modify it, and once you are done, bring in the front block. Now I'm going to be using this method of cutting out the back block. Now I'm going to go ahead and place in my center front just after the zipper allowance, and for the side front I'm going to go ahead and place it, making sure that I have 1 inch separating the center front from the side front. Okay, can you see what I just did? And that is going to be my dart. Now once you are done with that, we are going to determine the depth of our neck for the back. For the depth of my back, I made use of 2 inches, and I made sure that I have it connected to the side front. Okay, so you're going to ensure that the side of the front and the back are equal. Can you see what I just did right there? And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out following the dots that I left on the waistline. Can you see what I am doing? And once you are done and satisfied with what you've just gotten, you're going to go ahead and cut this out. Okay, so you guys, this is actually the simplest and the easiest way to go about your back block. It is very simple. Instead of going from the beginning to start cutting out your back block, just do it this way, and you're going to still arrive at the same point. Okay, so guys, once I am done, you can see that I've successfully removed the darts on the waist. Okay, so once I am done, I'm going to go ahead and remove 1 inch from the waist of my zipper allowance to avoid any form of gaping around the waist of my zip. So I'll go ahead and take in 1 inch right on the waist, and then connect it to the upper part of my bodice. Okay, so once I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess, and then please don't forget to notch your zipper allowance and then indicate the wrong parts. Okay, so you can see I'm going to arrange this just to show you what we've got, and then we move over to the lower part of this gown. Okay, so the lower part is going to be the skirt part. Now what you want to do is bring in your fabric and then mark out the starting line. Now my fabric is on fold, and I use the biggest part of my lower part measurement, which is the hip circumference, to fold plus some inches. Okay, so you're going to have to remove 17 inches for the upper part, and then mark out the hip points, the knee points, and the length of the gown. Okay, so you can see the hip point is 25 inches, the knee is 35, and the length is 45 inches. Okay, so guys, what I'm going to do next is go ahead and on the waistline of my lower part, I'm going to input my waist divided by 4 plus my darts and sewing allowance. Now moving over to the hip, I'm going to input the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance. And then on the knee length, I'm going to minus 1.5 inches from the hip, plus my sewing allowance, and whatever I have on the knee, I'm going to extend it to the down part of my skirt, okay, which is the lower part. So once you are done, you're going to have to connect all these points together and making sure that the hip point, you don't have any sharp curve around that place. All right, so now that I'm done, next thing I want to do is input half an inch for joining this my down part into the upper part of my gown. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut out the front block. Next, from the center fold, I'm going to come in by 4.5 inches, which is the nipple to nipple measurements, and then I'll take out 1 inch for my dart intake, which I use half an inch on both sides, and then from the hip point I'm going to go up by 2 inches for the front dart leg. Okay, and then I'll simply go ahead and connect this together. So now we are done with the front of the skirts. Moving over to the back, you're going to first of all mark out the zipper allowance, and once you are done marking out the zipper allowance, so I use 2 inches right here, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the front block. Okay, so the back is very easy. The only difference is the zipper allowance. So what you want to do is mark your zipper allowance and bring in the front block. Now on the waistline, okay, for my zipper allowance, I'm going to take in 1 inch, and on the hip I'm going to take 1.5 inches, and on the down part of my skirt I'm going to also take 1 inch, and I'll simply go ahead and connect these points together. So what I just did here was to add butt allowance to my skirt so that it will make it easier for me to sit properly, or your butt to accommodate on the back side of your skirt. Okay, so guys, I am done and I'm trying to trim this off. Once I am done, I'll simply go ahead and mark out the depth of my dart for the back. Okay, so what I just did was to come up by 1 inch from the hip line and then simply connect it to the 4 inches and then connected the dart legs. Okay, so once you are done with all of this, I'm going to simply go ahead and cut out the sleeve. Okay, now for this sleeve, this is where your round shoulder is going to come in. All right, now first of all, fold your fabric into 4 places. So if you notice, I folded into 2 before and then folded again. Now I'm going to mark out a starting line, and this starting line I'm going to still minus 5 inches, right? Okay, and then I would go down by 13 inches, which is where I want this sleeve to end. But because this is a gather sleeve, I want to be able to adjust it anyhow I want. I went down by extra 5 inches. Now this is my round shoulder, 42 inches, and my across chest is 11, then across back is 12. So what I'm going to do is to plus this 12 and 11 together. After you plus it, minus it from the round shoulder and then divide by 4. Okay, so what I had there was 5.25. Now for me to get that gathered effect, because I'm going to be putting elastic on the upper part of this my sleeve, I'm going to times this 5.25 by 2.5. Okay, so after I times it by 2.5, I got about 15 point something inches, or 15 or thereabout. So I went ahead to do that and connected my armhole using my sleeve. And then for the down part of my sleeve, I went ahead to measure my round elbow and multiplied by 3. Okay, because I'm going to gather that place before I add it up to the down parts. So guys, once I was done, I went ahead to cut this out. So now you can see my two sleeves. Okay, Now for the down part, which is the cuff around the down part, okay, or the band, whichever it is you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric into four, okay. So if you notice, I folded into two and then I folded again, okay. So now what I want to do is measure my round elbow, okay. So the round elbow is 12. I'm going to go ahead and divide it by 2 and I'm going to have 6 plus 1.5 for sewing allowance. Now for the down parts, I'm going to measure the round 3/4 of my sleeve, which is 10, and I'll mark 5, which is 10 divided by 2 plus 1.5 inches. So after I was done, you guys, this is what I have, okay. So I have my two band right there, which I'm going to join to the upper part of my sleeve, and you can see I'm cutting this out. Do you guys understand? So this is what I have. So guys, let me open this up and then open up the upper part so that you guys can have a clear understanding of what I have right here. So you can see I'm going to gather the upper parts and then join it to the band just like this. So guys, once you are done with that, I've gone ahead to cut out the lining and then also gone ahead to join this together, okay. So you can see this is my upper bodice. Can you see I've actually gone ahead to pad it and also done the same thing for the lining piece. So I'm going to go join this lining to the actual piece, just as you can see me showing you right now, okay. So once I am done joining all of this, I'll come show you guys what we have. So guys, I am done joining all this together. Now I'm going to go ahead and place the fronts to the back and then mark out the zipper allowance and then join the zipper allowance before I think of joining the side of my upper part, okay. So I've gone ahead to join the zipper allowance using a loose stitch because I'm still going to loosen it to fix in the zipper. All right, so guys, you can see I'm placing this right side facing each other and I'm going to go ahead and input the body measurement. So what I want to do is go ahead and divide my round bust circumference into two. So the round bust circumference is 42 inches. I'm going to go ahead and divide it and then note the remaining and share it equally on both sides. The same thing goes to the waist. Can you see what I am doing? I'm going to divide the waist circumference by 2, note what is left, and then share it equally on both sides. Can you see? And then I will simply go ahead and connect the shape just like this, okay. So once I am done joining the shapes, you guys, I'm going to go over to the down parts, which is the skirt. I've succeeded in joining the skirts together and this is what we have, okay. So guys, what I'm going to do next is go ahead and open up the zipper of the skirts, and then for the upper part I'm going to notch the center and equally notch the center of my skirts. Now once you are done notching the center of this upper part and the down parts, you're going to align the centers together and then use it to join the waist line, okay. So you guys, you can see what I'm doing. So I'll simply go ahead and sew from that center using half an inch to one part of the zipper allowance, and again do the same thing for the other side, just as I'm showing you right now. Okay, and remember, do this with half an inch, and once you are done, you're going to have to weave that waistline. Okay, now after you are done, go ahead and bring in your zipper and then fix in the zip. All right, or if you don't want to fix in the zip, you can as well fix in your sleeve before fixing in the zipper. Okay, now this is our sleeve. What you want to do is go ahead and fold the upper part of your sleeve. Okay, you can equally go ahead and weave it and then fold once, but I'm going to fold mine twice. Okay, and also go ahead and gather the down part of the upper part of the sleeve. Now to the band, you're going to have to cut out lining for the band and then sew the down part, top stitch, and then flip it over just like this, and then top stitch on the lining. Okay, now I've gone ahead to sew the upper part and then gather the down part of the upper part of my sleeve. I hope you guys are understanding me. Now I'm going to bring in the band and then sew the down parts into it, and then to the upper part of my sleeve I'm going to input this elastic. Okay, so this elastic is in length 8 inches. Okay, so you guys, after I was done doing all of this, I joined the side seam of my sleeve, and you guys, this is my sleeve. Okay, so guys, next I'm going to bring in my full gown right now. Okay, so that we can fix in the sleeve. Here is my gown, fixing the zipper. So what I'm going to do right now is to trim the armhole of this my gown a little bit so that it won't be that tight around the armhole. Okay, and then go ahead and fix in my sleeve. So guys, after we're done, this is our gown. You can see how neatly finished this is looking. I hope you guys find this tutorial helpful. If you do, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and turn on your post notification if you haven't done so. I will see you guys in my next one.